Many of the questions that I've asked or have been asked in my lifetime is, what is my purpose? And that's so important to everyone. And I'd like to discuss a little bit about your purpose. We have two purposes. And what are our purposes? One of them would be as a child, as you're growing up, and then you meet someone and you foster families, you have a job, and it's what I call a human purpose. So having family, friends, relatives, acting as a daughter and a son, or as a mother or father, and working with your children. And what each one of us has to remember that as an adult, we become an inspiration, and you become a role model. And I often say to people, what are you teaching your children? And I see so many couples that scream and yell and argue with each other, or they are independent, or they act cold, there's no warmth or love or friendliness. Or the child comes up and wants some help. Go play with your computer. Take your iPad. I'm too busy. I'm tired. But, what are we teaching them? What we're teaching them is, don't bother us. Take care of yourself. And we have a generation of millennials that have been brought up this way. And the most amazing thing is, when they want an answer, they don't go to mom and dad. They Google it. And we make fun of them. But really, who trained them to do it? It's not the training of them to go to Google, which we told them to do. Of course, in my day, we went to the Encyclopedia Britannica. But what we're doing is saying, we're too busy, we won't pay attention to you, I want to rest, give me my beer, I want to go out dancing, partying, whatever it is. So we kind of left the children to grow up for themselves. And in the process, we have not taught them about responsibility. And so that's one of our missions and goals, to teach responsibility and to take responsibility for whatever goes wrong. The psychiatrists and psychologists, and I have many friends that are that way, they go, well, they're just a victim. Well, it's not their fault. Well, I will tell you that they chose these experiences because that's part of their mission and goal, to have these experiences. But the reason they're having this experience is to empower them, is to change their lives. And if we look around the world, what are we seeing? So much anger, frustration, hate, lack of self-worth, but most importantly, lack of responsibility. And that's so important. And that's part of our mission and goal that I wanted to address for a few minutes. And that is, we are the role models. The important thing is, as you behave, as you interact, not only do you influence your children and your friends and your families and relatives, but others around you. And you'll never know how much you've changed them. How many of you remember that there was a relative or even a teacher or somebody that that inspired you and made a difference? One of the things I was doing, I was teaching English at one of the colleges here. And, English is a challenge for me, but they needed a professor to do it. Go, you're it, Michael. Oh, geez. So anybody remember adjectives, adverbs, dangling participles? I forgot all about that. And the languaging. And I took a different approach, and I encouraged all of them. And here they are at college. They can barely read, and their comprehension was so poor. I'm saying, what did they learn in high school? And I began to work with them and inspire and compliment them. And I remember one of my students in the midterms, she actually flunked, but I gave her, a C-. She said, Professor Gross, I didn't really get a C-. I should have gotten an F. I looked at her and said, well, I'm the professor. I make the decision. You got a C-. And then in the final exam, she actually got a B-, because it inspired her to try harder and do work. And I know in that moment I changed her life. And she thanked me profusely, went on into the military and had quite a career. But the important thing for us to know is that your mission and goal, forget about the spiritual one, I'll address that another time. Your mission and goal is to be a role model. Because you see, when you are the role model, you change 3 generations from the past and 3 generations in the future. So you're probably wondering, well, how do I do the past? And the answer is whatever issues you have or your children have, your great-grandparents, your grandparents, and parents have had, and you probably have had. And now you champion your children. You teach them how to be a role model by how you overcome those challenges. So when the future comes for those children, and their children's children, and children's children, children, so on and so forth, they're going to come in without that karma, because you have healed that karma about self-worth, self-love, and self-esteem. That's what it's all about. And what is self-worth, self-love, and self-esteem? You know what it is? It's about loving yourself. It's not about judging yourself and seeing your imperfections, like I'm too short, I'm too tall, I'm too fat, I'm too thin, I don't have blonde hair, I got black hair, I'm bald, on and on and on, and on and on and on. Whatever that is, it's unimportant. And the reason it's unimportant is because whatever is going on in your life, it's a learning and growing experience. It's kind of like riding a bike. Very few people can get on a bike right away and ride it, but they learn how to do it. And that's what we chose to do in this lifetime, is to learn and grow. And as we learn and grow, we become models for others to pattern themselves after you. So think about your life and what's going on. Think about your relatives, family, friends, and so on. Look how judgmental they are. Look how angry they are. Not all of them. Look how they're confused. And look how they become the victims, because they allow them to become the victims. You know, as a minister, I've done a lot of weddings, and I've mentioned, I bet I've done 1,000. Someday I'm going to count them, but I'm not too far off. And the complaints that I get from the parents, my daughter and son didn't even send a thank you card. This old-fashioned of saying thank you, boy, that's so powerful. Saying thank you. You're showing appreciation. Attitude is the great gratitude. And the attitude of appreciation, you're expressing indirectly love, and you're showing them how much they are important to you and how they've made a difference. So I want you all in the weeks to come to think about this. I want you to do everything, because I'm going to ask you next week, to do something to make your heart sing. What does that mean? That's a phrase that you've done something that you're really proud of. You didn't do it for kudos. You didn't do it for money. You did it because it was the right thing. You know, in my classes in the early days, maybe Vicki, you were around, or Charlie, and the expression that True Source came through, just do it. And that became the byword for a few years, because every time someone said, well, I'm having a challenge, I don't know if I want to do this, and the words out of my mouth would be, just do it. Believe me, it wasn't planned. It came forth from the True Source. So I want to leave you all with this little message, and that is, your mission and goal is to become a role model. And like all of you, to think, how can I be a role model? And to become a role model, you're a leader. To become a leader, you pave the way. To pave the way, you become unconditionally loving and allowing and non-judgmental. But you need to make people, your children, take responsibility for their actions, so that later in life, they'll think twice in what they do. So if you have enjoyed this, tune in next week, and there'll be more information, but you can listen to the replay of this by calling this number, 515-739-1309. I'm going to repeat that, 515-739-1309. And the access code is 125-446-pound, the same as this, 125-446-pound. And all of you that have joined me, thank you for being here. Please tell everyone to join us. And for the new ones that have just joined us, you've got my cell number, my private cell, and I offer you a 20-minute complimentary session. And my number is 253-222-1096. Good night, everyone. May you be blessed with happiness, joy, and prosperity.